push-ups. I've been doing sit-ups. I've been doing chin-ups. I've been doing pull-ups. I threw up once, but I'm okay now.
What's up, everybody? Happy Friday and happy Independence Day weekend. Welcome to the Ysn Power Hour. DJ Yoakley with you. Richie has the day off. He's out. He's getting ready for a wedding, as I understand. Not his. Ladies, he's still readily available in the #1 bachelor here at your sports network. So keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. Good show for you today. I think a big topic that nobody's seemingly talking about with the districts in Little League just literally right around the corner. We're going to talk about what Little League proposed over the past few weeks and how it's going to affect basically the Little League here locally and all across the country moving forward. And I want to know your take on it because I'm still trying to figure out how I feel about it. I think the brand will be better, but I think when you incorporate change, there's always room for failure. And not that I'd ever root for failure, but I think that there's going to be a lot of interest and a lot of intrigue. And I think we're kind of, well, you'll find out my take in just a little bit. We have that and that topic. We're hoping to get some feedback from you about this topic, about how you feel about Little League, 11, 12-year-olds. Oh, gosh, I just can't wait to talk about it. But first, we have to get to On This Day in Sports History, and there are a lot of things that happened on July 1st across the sports world. Let's get to them. All right, on this day in sports history, let's start in chronological order here. All right, so one of my favorites, Cal Ripken Jr. To me, one of the greatest of all time to show up at his job day in, day out. If he's sick, if he's tired, if he's sore, whatever it was, Cal Ripken Jr. did it 2,216 consecutive times before taking a day off. Today, in 1982, July 1st, 1982, Cal Ripken Jr. makes his first of that record 2,216 consecutive MLB starts at shortstop for the Baltimore Orioles. So on this day, 40 years ago, Cal Ripken began something that I personally believe will never be touched, a record that will never be broken. And I'm sure that I will live to eat those words. But the way that people show up for their jobs nowadays, I think I feel pretty safe. I feel pretty doggone safe that record that began 40 years ago today will stand the test of time. Also, a little bit, 1987, a big day in the industry. New York City radio station WFAN AM commences the first ever 24-hour all-sports radio format. And obviously a very important day in our history because if you look at the connections between the 24-hour cycle and obviously what we do at YSN, we couldn't have done it without someone setting and blazing that trail. So thank you to WFAN in New York City for doing that. And then you saw, ESPN kind of ESPN was before this, but it was never like I don't think ESPN was 24 hours necessarily because they had a lot of tape delays and things like that, and I think they had off the air as well. So this is the first ever 24-hour all sports radio format, and it happened in New York City on this day in sports history, 1987. But the other one I wanted to bring your attention, in 1997, July 1st, the Nevada Athletic Commission suspends Mike Tyson indefinitely and withholds $20 million of his purse for biting Evander Holyfield's ear during their heavyweight title fight on June 28th. I remember it vividly. I remember it was all over the news. And I remember it happened immediately after the fight. They released it. It was on the news. It was literally everywhere. For me, it's really interesting, that whole thing, because it definitely started Mike Tyson going into D-Generation X in the WWE and Stone Cold Steve Austin, all that stuff. But there was a moment there that nobody knows. And I would argue that some still don't understand and know for certain if if our boy Mike Tyson is sane or not, if he's just absolutely bananas. I think he knows what he's doing. He's made a living from it, from the boxing side, from the entertainment side. We saw, the WWE. We've seen Hangover. All that. Well, I've seen Hangover. I don't know if you've seen Hangover. If you've seen Hangover, he's a big part of the movie. So I think that he's doing just fine. He learned a little something from Don King. We're going to bring in Anthony Romo here in just a few minutes. Whenever I have a second to send him the link here, the legend. But one of the things that we're going to talk about here on the Power Hour is, I'm going to break it down for you. So this came out the middle of the month, and I'm going to cite the source here because that's what we do. This is Penn Live, and obviously because Little League is based out of Williamsport, Pennsylvania, it's going to be big news in Pennsylvania. So out of South Williamsport comes this news just a couple weeks ago. Changes in Little League's residency rule are likely. The president and CEO of the world's largest youth sports organization says the boundaries would not be eliminated, but they also should not be barriers either. Stephen Keener said that at the conclusion of the 4-day 28th Little League International Congress attended by the volunteer district administrators. And so this happens every 4 years as a number of rule changes are discussed. So basically, for me, what this boils down to is travel ball is going to be coming to Little Leagues. And again, we talk about open enrollment. We talk about this stuff all the time. We talk about it literally all the time of, is this good for the game? Is it good for kids? Is it good for the schools? Is it good for the organizations? Is it good for this? And, is it good for the goose? Is it good for the gander? While I'm all for open enrollment, I do not like super teams. I told you yesterday why I like open enrollment. I've told you many times why I like open enrollment. What I don't like is creating super teams that cut through, and it's for a couple of reasons. It's for a lot of reasons, but the number one reason is to put yourself at an unfair advantage, right? Or at least try to. It comes down to recruitment. It comes down to, there's better opportunities for your kid in this spot than in this spot, or promises that are made that are oftentimes never kept. And then there's a lot of friction. At the 10 and 11 and 12-year-old, you can throw 8U in there. I would even argue you can throw in Pony League. Pony League's a little bit more, I get it, when it comes to kids having to play and kids having to sit. When you're in Little League, every kid on that bench has to play. And I think it's one at bat, and I'll be better on Monday or better on Tuesday, but I think it's one at bat and 2 innings in the field. So you can't hide your guys. You can try, but you can't stash them away on the bench and tell them, it's going to be okay. This is life. No, you got to play them. And there's an element to that I love, because if you're a kid or you're a parent that your kid's going to get an at bat, and what you do with that at bat is up to you, is up to the kid. You're going to get chances in the field, hopefully. I mean, you can't really pick where you're going to play and pick where the ball's hit. But when you have your opportunity, do you seize it? I feel like Eminem. Do you seize it, or do you let it slip? Mom's spaghetti. But there's an element to Little League that's strategy. And do you put your players in at relevant times, or do you put your players in and try to hide them in non-key moments? The strategy of that goes away. This is why you have all-star teams. I don't like the thought of kids from 3 different communities making a super team, because that makes one team here and the other team here. And why I don't like that is because there's such a great element of surprise and just joy in Little League baseball and softball. You've seen it all week in the softball game on YSN. You'll see it for the next 2 weeks on YSN from a standpoint of Little League baseball. There's an element of surprise. There's an element of joy that you can't really explain unless you just take it in. If you go to Williamsport, you'll get it. You'll understand. The umpires are doing this for free. The district administrators doing this for free at no charge. Their time, their resources, their gas money, all that stuff is coming at no cost to Little League, because they're volunteering to do this for the betterment of our sports community at the 8U to 12U range. So with that being said, there's an element of, I think, and this is my personal opinion, and we'll have Chet Cooper on hopefully next week to talk about and to get excited about the Little League district tournaments that are happening in Boardman, and that will be a big part of every single game going to be covered on YSN, every field. But I think there's a little bit of greed going into this decision if they choose this path. I mean, imagine kids playing from Canfield, Boardman, and Austintown, Poland, all on the same team. You take the kids that are top tier kids, the kids that maybe play baseball year round in some capacity, indoor, outdoor, whatever it may be, and you put them all on one team. Are they beatable? Absolutely. Everybody's beatable. Nothing's a guaranteed victory anymore. We've all seen the miracle on ice. But when you have teams like that, those super teams, those kids are also expected to win. Expected to win. Imagine walking in and saying, guys, we expect to win this. You're walking into a tournament expecting to win. That happens soon enough. That happens at the 14U stage. It certainly happens at 16U, and you damn well sure it happens at 18U. There's loaded teams to the gills. It's like asking a waitress, what do you want on your steak and potatoes? I want them loaded. Boom. Out comes a team that has 0 weaknesses. No chinks in the armor. That team is expected to win. Hands down. 18U, you can handle it, right? If you lose, you can handle it. 16U, a little tougher, right? The maturity's not there yet. 14U, I'm not sure 14U that you still have your elements down yet. There's not that consistency that you have at 16 and 18. There's a little bit. Pardon me. But it's not everywhere. It's not 1 through 9. Even if you have a stacked team, the consistency isn't there. At 12U, it's not. At 12U, there's still kids that cry when they strike out. The game's still very emotional. I don't think they're ready. I don't think these kids are ready. I don't think they're ready for stacked teams. I don't think they're ready for those expectations, and they shouldn't have to deal with them, quite honestly. If you're 12 years old and you're in Little League, the expectations should be we're representing our town, our community, our district, our region, our state, our country. Level up, right? If you start putting these super teams together at the Little League level, I think you're asking for an abysmal failure of what Little League is all about. You're asking volunteers to come in and give their time. You want a good show. You want a good opportunity. It's pure. It's pure. No money exchanges hands. These people are doing it out of the goodness of their heart. Let's keep that. Let's keep that goodness in the heart going by letting kids from their communities represent their communities. And here's the other thing. It's going to be like very similar. If you can remember back to 2000, I'm going to try to get this right. I'm not Richie Giuliano. I want to say it was 2010 when LeBron, Chris Bosh, and Dwayne Wade all teamed up, super team, and they decided to go to Miami. And you're seeing this finally, 12 years later, I think, you're seeing that there was a little bit of argumentative angle between LeBron and Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade of where they were going to go. Was it Miami? Was it Cleveland? Was it somewhere else? It wasn't Toronto. Sorry, Canadians. I don't think anybody was going to Toronto. At that point, the dollar and the exchange rate wasn't working out in LeBron and D Wade's best interest, nor Chris Bosh's. Plus, Chris Bosh never really had control of that situation. He was just kind of like the add-on, right? I think that's going to be the same problem here. And I'm saying this just out of you can put any four teams in as a variable here. So Boardman, Canfield, Poland, and let's say Austintown, right? Those are the four teams that typically are your four squads in that district that come out. Where are you going to go? Who are you going to represent in the districts if this is the case? Boardman, all four of those communities are very prideful of the name on their chest. And we all know this. So when you look at this, who's going to concede? Which three communities would concede in order to make that super team? I'm interested. I want to know who is going to bow down to one of those. And seeing that representation on your chest during the district tournament, what happens with that? I'm intrigued. Because this opens up Pandora's box to what comes over the next 4 years. Open enrollment. Things that could be magical down the road in these district finals that we see at Scene Park, that we see all around our area, could have consequences now a lot earlier. Because now does that super team stay together? Do they open enroll to a school and stay together up through? Or do they do what happened in Miami and split apart? Maybe you keep some, maybe you don't. Maybe it works for some, maybe it doesn't for others. 12-year-olds are not supposed to be putting super teams together. If you're stacking the deck anywhere before 14U, there's issues that go far and beyond you need help. And there just are. And I'm talking about that in community and recreational ball. If you're stacking teams, I mean, to me, blind drafts are as good as gold. Coaches get their kid, and assistant coaches, along with, volunteers, their kids go into the draft. Because we've seen it. I mean, we've all been there, where one coach goes in, gets another coach who gets another coach, and then all of a sudden your kid has to be on that team, and coach's kid has to be on that team, and this coach's team has to be on that team. Next thing you know, you got 7 kids, and let's face it, you're creating a super team. To me, coaches should be in that draft as well. You want to be an assistant coach? Great. Boom. Goes into the bucket, the hat, whatever it is. Blind, do one of these guys, pull it out. We live in a day and age that people try to get one up and 2 pitches ahead on everything. I get it. In business, we try to do it. That's business. But we start getting mixed up and I want to say too deep in the shark tank. If you swim with sharks long enough, they're going to bite you. It's just going to happen. And this is just another way of how it's going. And here's Mark. Let's get to Mark's comment here. What's your thoughts on All-Stars? My son is 12 and has the privilege to make it to South Range All-Stars. Congratulations, Mark. That's a big thing. All-Stars I love. But I love All-Stars from the one community, right? From the one community. The beautiful thing about Little League is if you want to be in a Little League sanctioned tournament, right? So if you want the right to go to Williamsport, the way I understand it, and I could be wrong, which is why we're going to get Chet on later, hopefully early next week. Tuesday would be ideal. I'll get on the horn with him right after this show. The beautiful thing about a Little League sanctioned tournament is the kids have to be, right now, as of right now, the kids have to be from the same community. They got to be the same, within an age range, obviously, but they have to be from the same community. So if you want to be part of South Range All-Stars and you're selected, phenomenal. But that kid has to be from South Range, from, what is it, Beaver and there's another one in there. 2 different, locations where it's based out of South Range, right? Those kids have to be from there. Same with if East Palestine was a sanctioned Little League, and I don't think they are. But all the kids would have to be from East Palestine if they want to go and compete in the district play, qualify for district play and play. Like, they have to be from the East Palestine locale. What they're suggesting, Mark, is that if someone comes and plays baseball at South Range, and let's say they're from Struthers, just, again, pulling it right out of thin air, they'd be able to play for South Range, and then they'd be able to be on the South Range All-Star team, even though they're not from your community, and they would represent South Range. And while I love All-Stars, right, All-Stars essentially are, you take a group of kids that are the best of the best from that community, put them together, and that becomes a lot of times, it becomes your representative for districts. And some teams, some communities have 2 all-star teams or 3 all-star teams. And they just let it ride. And whoever comes out of it, and they're the best. And you might see some switches here and there, but they're all within the community because that's how you qualify. What Little League is doing is taking the qualifier out of it. They're saying, listen, if you want to have kids from every single region, basically, it's the Mighty Ducks thing. It's why Gordon Bombay, Adam Banks had to go play for the Mighty Ducks because that's where he was located. He had to play for that community because that's where he lived. Essentially, you're taking that chip out of the deck and saying, hey, go play where you feel like. That is to me, it's a recipe for disaster. It's a recipe for disaster. These kids are too young. They're still working on development. And I saw I'm going to try and pull it up here. Romo, if you're watching, I'll take care of you here in a little bit at the break. But here's the where is it at now? I apologize. It was just on my feed. If you're on my Facebook page, I shared it yesterday. All right, so this is a tweet from the Baseball Dudes, and it's at Baseball Dudes 48. If you want to follow them, good follow. Always spitting the truth pretty hard. It says, youth sports is dominated by adult emotions. Shouldn't be that way. Was never meant to be that way. It's about the kids and only the kids. Adults, stop hijacking the game from them. Leave your personal desires at home and give them the game back. Couldn't agree more. And there's a lot of people that agree with that because there was shares, likes, comments, everything. A lot of engagement on that shared post from Baseball Dudes. But I will say this is I saw this pop up a couple weeks ago with Little League. I didn't want to address it. It wasn't Little League season. Now it's going to be. And that's a slow Friday, just to be honest with you. If and when this passes, this could be the most devastating blow that Little League Baseball has ever had to deal with. Because I'm going to warn you, once you open this Pandora's box, it's going to be hard to close it back up. It's going to be hard to close it back up. There's no lid anymore on this box because people get comfort levels. Oh, I like traveling with them. These are our friends. These are, cousins are playing together now because they're in different communities. And listen, travel ball has not treated the youth development well at all. At all. It's why kids are quitting sports earlier than ever before. Call it daddy ball, call it mommy ball, call it whatever you want. Travel ball. Having kids and making these like super teams does nothing but spoil the game for everybody else that isn't on that team. You've got a bunch of 8 and 8s, and then you've got 16 and 0s. 16 and 0. Right? Those kids are basically being told at the age of 12 years old, 11 years old, 10 years old, 9 years old, 8 years old, whatever it may be, that you're not good enough to play on my team. And I'm not talking about all-stars. I'm talking community ball, and then you take that one team, right? Because they're all somewhere, and you push them forward. That's your team. Expectations are, you better freaking win. Nobody's putting super teams together to just have fun. Show me that first practice that you're just out to have fun. But I'll also say this, if those super teams get into a bind and they lose, there's a lot of accountability right at the top. You want to talk about playing time? Who are you going to sit? Who are you going to sit on a team full of absolute studs? And how long are kids 10, 11, and 12 on the roster, sometimes 13, how long are they going to stick around for? Because they can go be a primetime player, PTP, baby, on somebody else's team. I learned something 5 years ago that I tell everybody I possibly can. At the age of 8 years old to about 12 years old, every son that plays baseball is Mike Trout. That kid is going to go on and do great things. D1, scholarship, drafted out of high school. Every kid has not only those dreams for themselves, but the parents. The parents are bought into it. And God bless them, because when you're young, dream big. I encourage that. The problem is coaches have to be accountable for their actions. When you create super teams, you create problems for yourself. The kids that are really good are all going to be on that same team, because you can't take 9 really good players and then have like 3 or 4 fringe players, because it's all about greed. You're going to get 13 players. You're going to get 12 players that should play every single day, every single inning, every single at bat, every single time that kid should be in. And if that kid doesn't tell you, that parent surely will. You're playing with fire here. I'm not an advocate for it, not at 12U, because it happens at 14U. You start getting, you look at what we have in little B, in 14U. You have to start making choices, creating teams. And those teams, those franchises, are supposed to create super teams. Not representative of any community, but representative of whatever names across their chest. The Astros, A to Z, the Avalanche, Nightline, whatever it may be. That's where you're representing. It's not necessarily about your community anymore. It's about your team. It's about your franchise. And going up 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, all through your franchise, or finding another spot. If you don't fit in, it's very similar to where college is right now. And softball players, don't think this doesn't affect you. This decision would absolutely affect you, and then watch what happens. And then watch what happens. Because even though travel ball, baseball, is its own monster, travel softball is unlike anything I've ever seen in my life. Anything. You talk to any travel softball parent, and it is a wow factor from the moment they go to their first tournament. It's like Coach Blood. Speaking about the Mighty Ducks, when Bombay was playing at home in Minnesota and they beat the Hawks, it was for gigs. But when they went Team USA, Coach Blood came out. Competitive switches flipping everywhere. Parents, kids, coaches, umpires, like everywhere. That is travel softball. And softball is under the jurisdiction of Little League. 12U, the stuff we had this week, under that jurisdiction. Just wait. If you like this, be careful what you wish for. This is going to create... Let me get a drink here in a second. This is going to create domino effects that you cannot pick those dominoes back up. This is going to force, in my opinion, more kids to quit the game than ever before because they don't like losing. Nobody does. But they don't even have a chance to win when you create these super teams. What should be 50-50 is now, at best, 90-10. At best. There's no chance for ice cream. You want to talk about participation trophies? Here's your participation trophy. You went 1-15. You went 0-16. Well, somebody else went 16-0 on a stacked deck. Not fair. I don't like it. We're going to talk Chet. Hopefully, Chet Cooper will address this a little bit. And Chet's a straight shooter. I'm interested to hear his opinion. I hope he has, and Chet is one of the most involved Little League people that you will ever meet, especially, and we are blessed to have him around here in Youngstown, Ohio, because any question you have, he either knows the answer to or will find the answer to. And I think this is a big one. And I'm interested to see what side of the fence he sits on, because I think that he understands how this can turn out. And there's no more pure Little League baseball guy than Chet. With all he does for the game, with all he does for the area and youth sports, Chet is he deserves a statue. A statue. And I'll talk to my buddy out in BCB, Mr. Chad Miller, and see if we can get Chet a statue right out front of BCB. See how it goes. We're gonna take a break. We come back. I'm gonna try to get Romo on the show. Lots to talk about. I want to get his take on this. How young is too young to create super teams? Is Little League too young? Is it right age? What is it? All that and more coming up on the Power Hour, headed towards your weekend here on YSN after the break.
It's a new year at Acura of Boardman and Boardman Mitsubishi with huge savings on over 350 fully inspected vehicles. We have cars, trucks, SUVs, minivans, and work vehicles. We don't have it, our team will find it. We aim for 100% credit approval with payments as low as $99 per month. And as always, we'll pay top dollar for your trade. For a great vehicle and a great experience, come see why everyone is stopping by at Acura Boardman and Boardman Mitsubishi.
You're not waiting to see what the world has in store for you. It's more about what you have in store for the world. All you need is the opportunity. All you need are the resources of a large university and the advantages of a personalized academic setting, where you can experience new worlds in the arts and sciences, business, and education, and make them your own. We are where you shape your future. We are Youngstown State University, and proud.
Being able to have success on the football field and the basketball court and just every aspect of, my sports career is now documented. One of the greatest things about high school sports is to be able to talk about it for the rest of your life and to look back on the days with my buddies whenever we had some battles, whether it was with our rival or just another game. And I could go back and look at it and not only myself but my family members, my teammates, and it's something that will last a lifetime. My name is Parker Sherry, and my sports network is your sports network.
It's storm season.
I think we're under the gun for some heavy storms over the next couple of hours.
And Storm Tracker 21 is ready.
This is probably the one we're keeping a closer eye on.
On air.
And locally, we're going to have a lot of eyes on our area.
Online.
All right, let's talk high-risk futurecast and the timing of this weather.
On social media and on our app.
Notice we'll have scattered showers on Thursday.
Stay ready with Storm Tracker 21.
The severe weather threat now through around sunset this evening.
And welcome back to the YSN Power. Caught me off guard there. I was doing a little search ski. I said the thing to Romo, so we'll see if he pops on here shortly. Again, saw it on social media. One of those things that you see and you just agree with and you get behind. And for me, it's dead on when you think about the baseball dudes. Again, at Baseball Dudes 48 on Twitter. Youth sports is dominated by adult emotions. Shouldn't be that way. Never was meant to be that way. It's about the kids and only the kids. Adults, you need to stop hijacking the game from them. Leave your personal desires at home and give them the game back. And when you think about that, it's a kid's game. And adults always seem like they know better. They always tell you they know better. I'm experienced. I'm this, I'm that. I got to tell you, a little snippet from the YSN All-Star game. Okay, while I'm all for All-Star games, I'm all for the showcases, things of that nature. The thing that I love most about baseball and softball over any other sport, and I'll argue this all day, is that you can have fun. It's a pure game of joy. And in that baseball game, the All-Star game, although there were a slew of great moments throughout that game, there was a moment that happened at the end of the game where 30 dudes in different colored uniforms came out of the dugout and they were all over the outfield. And the other dugout, without even asking the coach, Coach Niddle, said, hey, we're going to combat this and we're just going to go load the bases. So started the bases loaded in the bottom of the ninth, and the kids just had fun. Because when adults step out of the way, kids will figure out how to have fun with it. Sometimes they'll take it a little bit too far, but that's kids being kids. And I think adults, while they're supposed to be there and just be the safety net for these kids, are and should be out of the way. Like, get them out of the way from a standpoint of, like, let's let these kids have fun, enjoy the game. It's theirs. We had our time from an adult situation. Dude, my time was a long time ago, unlike this guy that's coming in, AR. So, Romo, I'm guessing you watched a little bit of the show today.
I've watched it all.
So from your perspective, super teams in Little League, thumbs up, thumbs down, or are you kind of like sitting in the middle there?
I mean, I'm against it, but I think what's really interesting is when you're talking about the boundary lines and that whole thing. If you remember back in 2014, I want to say, I was actually talking about this last week with Richie. So if you look back to the Little League World Series, that Jackie Robinson Little League team that ended up winning the USA title, they beat Canfield in their regional. That game was like on ESPN2 or something. That was like kids my age that were playing in that game for Canfield. That team ended up going on to win the US title and lost to Japan in the World Championship. And then a few months later, they got everything stripped because they broke the rules. They had guys from all different communities coming, and you can just see how powerful that is. If you bring kids together from different communities, who knows what was going on behind the scenes? There were probably a bunch of kids that wanted to be on that team that came from the right boundaries, but they couldn't because, okay, I'm not good enough, but at least I can't go play with my friends because the adults were taking it harder than the kids and they wanted to build a super team.
So this feels like it's been a long time coming, like situational awareness. So this thing happened, you said, a couple of years ago, and it feels like it's been brought up to Little League and the administrators, and this is the first time they've had to kind of push it. So that's what they're doing. I don't like it. I mean, so you're a Hubbard guy. I'm an East Palestine guy. Let's bring in a couple other, let's say Boardman and Canfield. All right. So you got the four of us are representing, obviously, East Palestine, the most unlikely of chances. We're like the Cleveland Cavaliers. Nobody's coming to us and representing us. But like, one of my questions was, which community gets to represent that super team from that standpoint? And how do the other three communities and organizations feel about that one team being represented when it goes to essentially hopefully the districts, the regionals, the states, and onto the Little League World Series?
I think if it comes down to that, you're going to have a lot of really good bonds with a lot of people to make sure that goes smoothly. I know that it's happened before. I remember, like, for softball, I don't know if they're Pony right before high school, but I remember there was a team that was called, like, the Dognals. It was Poland and Canfield. They kind of merged and formed a team, and they made it all the way. They were playing on ESPN as well. They made it pretty far. But, I mean, I feel like that would be interesting. We see it, and obviously this is completely different, but we start to see at the collegiate ranks of somewhat of alliances starting to be formed. Mm-hmm. The Big Ten's going to bring in a lot of teams. It seems like they've already brought in to combat with the SEC. I could see maybe if communities formed like alliances and there was a cycle throughout the years of which teams were able to have their name on the chest of the players. But I honestly don't think that's necessary. There's travel ball for a reason. I don't think we need to bring it to the public. You know what I mean? Like public teams with just kids being represented. There's travel ball has been around for years for a reason. That's where you can go pay your money pay your thousands of dollars so your kid can go play Little League baseball with kids from other communities.
And I get behind the 14U stuff. I can live with that. We see it every day. It's on our airwaves. It's the Astros. It's everybody in Little B, and it's travelable. But what we're seeing is now a gateway to open enrollment is what we're looking at. And I think that once you open Pandora's box here, let's be quite honest, it probably has already been opened with travel ball being at 10U now. You're asking for trouble when you're getting these kids into Little League tournaments, because you're going to have like spitfire. I mean, people are which are already rowdy, because there's a chance to be on national television and things of that nature, feeling slighted because how are you going to go up against a team like that? And, they're going to be watched. And the thing that bothers me the most, Romo, is the fact that if that team loses, which most people will be rooting against that team, right? That's how it works. You're rooting against 12-year-olds. Like you're asking them and wanting them to fail. And sometimes you got to take a step back and realize what you're doing, because, when the emotions are in check, you're just happy to see these kids out there having fun. And I think that's why Little League is so great, because these kids are all coming from one community, one banner. When I was very young, I remember Tom's River kids from New Jersey.
Todd Frazier.
Yeah, Todd Frazier winning the championship. They were all from that particular community. I think that's something to be very proud of. They put that up. I mean, it'll be on their welcome to, Tom's River forever. And I think that's another cool thing about that. Canfield had that, and I think they have a sign up as well. South Range won the state championship. They have a sign up. When a community wins, they have an ability to have that forever. What happens when, number one, if the expectations aren't met and that team is bounced in the let's say the tournament in the district round by somebody else? Do those kids come back? Does that team split up? Are there hatred amongst the players, the parents, the coaches, and so on and so forth? And then the second part of that, I think I want to ask, is who gets the championship if they win? If it's Poland, if it's Canfield, if it's Boardman, like whoever's on the chest. Because if you've got, let's say Poland's on your chest, but you've got 6 kids from Boardman and that makes up the majority of the roster, should it go to Boardman?
That's a very interesting question. And I've seen firsthand the scrutiny that some programs face when there is open enrollment, because Hubbard has open enrollment. Mm-hmm. And I know that I think it's funny looking back on it. Like, so we had a really good run in like the early 2010s, like 2012, 2013, 2014, when we had like LJ Scott and all the good guys. And then that year after, I mean, we went like 7-3, but still, like, you go on social media after the games we lose, and it's like, oh my gosh, like people, that's the best thing that's happened to them like all month. Yep. And I know very recently, which I'm really against and I never really understood was, and this has been like this for a while, the people that cheer against high school teams like Ursuline and Mooney and our Catholic schools, because Ursuline made it all the way to the state championship. That was our only team that made it that far this year in the Valley. And I've never really understood the people that get behind more of when people around here lose rather than when they win. I've just never understood that. I understand the whole public versus parochial thing, but I was just baffled by the amount of people that I saw giving scrutiny to those kids from Ursuline that lost in that state championship game rather than applauding them for making it that far. Because, and this goes back to like a casual fan standpoint, not a lot of people understand the path that they had to take to get to that state championship. Some of the teams they had to beat, like you look back at that Glenville game where they almost lost, like that Glenville team has like at least 10 kids going to the Division I ranks. They had to beat a really good Salem team. And that was so long ago. DJ, we do so many sports. I can't remember that whole path. But I've never understood the whole rooting against kids type of persona.
Well, young Padawan, let me teach you something real quick that's going to take you far if you decide. Misery loves company. So if your team's out, you want everybody else out to be, just be sitting on the couch with you. And that's something that never goes away. You see it in professional sports. What I've learned is people that are like that learn it from professionals, right? They learn it because if the Browns are miserable, if the Browns stink, they want everybody in Pittsburgh to lose every single game, all that stuff. And then it trickles down to Ohio State, it trickles down to college football, and then it trickles down to high school. And now it's even down at the 8U levels, which I get so frustrated. And I'm gonna even take that a little bit further. Romo, I'd be lying to you if it hasn't trickled down to T-ball. That's how bad.
I believe it.
That's how bad it's gotten. And you look at this, and people don't know how to be fans anymore. They don't know how to be civil to each other. I had to have an argument with another coach that we're not counting outs in T-ball. Like this is the most purest form of baseball there is, because you're teaching them at very young ages that if you work hard and you get a hit, you make contact, there's a chance for you at first base. I'm sorry that 4-year-olds should not have to be failures. Like, I'm not teaching my son at that point how to be a failure in life, because he's got the rest of his life to figure out that he's going to fail 7 times out of 10. And people are nuts.
My bad. I was going to say, I completely understand that. My mom and I were actually just talking about this the other day. My parents, it was always easy for me to find them, because whenever I would play in baseball and stuff, Little League, they'd always be off to the side. They were never part of that group of people that would come and tailgate before Little League games and then go in and blah, blah, blah. We were just talking about this the other day. It was already like unbelievable how you see some of these people act at their kids' games. Like, you see these people getting ejected, coaches getting ejected. Then when you get older, like from my standpoint, I was in the heat of the game back then. Then you get to my age now where I'm 20, and it's even more. It's like, why? Why are you screaming and swearing in front of your kids because a 16-year-old kid who's getting paid $5 had to call a play that was this close at first base, and your kid may have been safe, but he got called out? And then you're ejected, and then you have to pay money, and the coach has to pay money, and the coach has to go to classes, and then it's
wild. It's turned into, if I don't get my way, I'm gonna throw a fit. And I get it that parents want to defend their kids, but unless you volunteered to coach, you don't get a say. And that's what I love about Little League Baseball is umpires are told they don't talk to anybody about calls except for the head coach. Not even the assistant coaches can argue calls. It's the same way in baseball now. It's in football, it's the same way. Umpires, referees, officials do not want to talk to assistant coaches. They're going to go right to the head coach, and they can have that discussion. Which a head coach, there's a little bit of politicking, and there's a lot of politician, I should say, in a head coach of any sport nowadays, because you got to be able to work the officials, establish relationships, not only with the officials, but with the other coaches. So that way you can still have a civil conversation after the game is over. What we're seeing is a complete flip on its head. I mean, it is turning into chaos, because it's about wins and losses. That's the only things that matter, not development, not, your kids learning things about life through sports. It's turned into wins and losses, and that is it. That is the fact of the matter. If my kid doesn't win, I don't care what else happens. I don't care if my kid goes 0 for 4. If they don't win, it's the coach's fault. It's the player's fault. It's the umpire, the referee, whoever it is. It's always somebody else's issue. And this way of sports will not survive. It will not survive, because kids will be like, you know what? My mom and my dad just acted like an ass clown. I'm out of here. And they're learning this at younger and younger ages, that they're embarrassed at 6, at 8, at 10, at 14. They already know. They either love the game so much that they're willing to take that embarrassment, or they're like, gosh, like, am I adopted? Like, is it going through my head? Am I adopted that my parents can act like that and I can kind of play it cool? But the problem is, at some point, the kids start acting like that.
The kids don't want to play, and the officials don't want to officiate anymore. mean,
And
we've seen it. We've talked about this before. It's been a big topic on Power Hours, how there's officiating shortages.
And yet we sit here like this. I wonder why.
Yeah.
You could not pay me enough money to be an official right now.
I say that everywhere I go, especially at the high school level. Like college and professional, I can understand because you're getting paid real money. And in a way, like you have more distance from the fans. At high schools, there's not really police that are there. There's not security. It's just one athletic director usually it's his job in trying to tame the whole fans. And these people still get ejected. I never understand it. And I will say,
there
my bad. If you're going to say something else, I
wanted to show you. That's the it's not showing up. The NFL $205K for a base salary in the NFL official. I think I could take some heat for $200,000 a year.
Oh yeah,
for 6 months.
Oh, MLB umpires get paid more than that, I think.
Well, Angel Hernandez, how that guy should be at Little League.
He embraces it at this point.
Yeah, he's loving it. He's like the dude from, and you probably never seen this, Naked Gun. I mean, he's celebrating bad calls back there.
Yeah, that's something. And I really, the reason that I really wanted to come on here today was to follow up a post that was on our social media last night. The reason I'm wearing the Avalanche shirt today is I used to play for the Avalanche back in the day, and they had a real cool gesture last night with their players wearing JF on their wrist tape. That was for their teammate Joey Fazone and his father, Jay Fazone, who unfortunately passed away last week. Jay was a real close family friend of ours, and as well as his wife, Tracy, and Joey. And my mom and I, we were at the funeral the other day, and man, it was packed. It just showed what a powerful man that he was and his legacy that he had carried. He was really big, and this is a man that would probably love to be on the show today because he was a staple in the Hermitage Little League baseball community. He was on their board for 13 years. He was helping getting sponsors, all this stuff. They had a ceremony for him the other day, and he never got mad. That was part of the eulogy during the funeral, is how he was a guy that, as all the other parents were getting vocal and upset and stuff, he never said a bad word to his son about how he played. And it's probably how much his son loves the game today. He's going to play at Gannon at the next level. He was initially committed to Edinburgh for football, but he switched sports. Now he's going to Gannon for baseball. And that was a really cool gesture by the Avalanche to honor their teammate like that.
I agree wholeheartedly, man. I saw that and it had to go up. There's so many things in life. And again, this is why I love what we do, right? Because we can walk in and we have a bad day. And you know what, man? At the end of the day, we get to talk about sports, and we get to talk about kids that are doing good things and you know, in whatever fake and phony world that sports is, in figments of people's imaginations. It's our reality. Sports is our reality. And guys like Jay and Joey, and I don't know him too well, so I can't speak on it too much, but hearing some of the people talk about the kind of guy that Jay was got me inspired to kind of let some of the dust settle, to let some of the stuff roll off my back a little bit, because we can all get caught up in all the hubbub and the bad news of the day. And, you know, bad things happen to people and good people every single day. And you saying that story just tells me exactly and stamps it for what this guy meant. And for everybody, and if you haven't seen the picture, I again, emotional guy, I teared up because when a team stands up for a teammate and they put JFs on the wristbands and you play for something, common goal, you look at, I mean, in different situations, the Michael Morrow thing on Saturday, all throughout the season, there's stories like that. And nobody seems to bring that stuff up because it doesn't get clicks. We could care less about engagement. What we care about is good people doing good things at good times. And I got to admit, with all the black cloud, and I've lost my dad, you know, I know where Joey's at right now. It's something that may never go away. It's a feeling that you'll always be missing something for the rest of your life. But for that moment, his teammates lifted him up. And as much as he'll remember everything that's bad and what he's missing, he'll also remember the way his teammates made him feel in that moment, the way that place was packed, right? How important that man was to that family. And Jay Fazone, I got to tell you, it's an honor to hear in all these stories and people wanting to say. And Romo, for you to come on the show and share that, it's a special moment because I'm sure that the Fazones appreciate it, that the entire community appreciates it, and obviously the young man Joey headed to Gannon to play baseball is going to be playing for his dad the rest of his life as long as he can. So thank you. I appreciate you for coming on the show and doing that, and what a great moment. So I think that takes the place of our Sparks. I think that's a good way to end.
That's a great way to end.
Let's do it. That's going to do it for our show. Do you have any plans, sir, for the 4th of July weekend?
Well, the weekend, I don't know what I'm doing yet, but the 4th of July itself, Richie and I will be at the Scrappers game. They play at home Monday night.
I might join you out there. I got
Why
no
not?
plans. I might pop over, hang out.
Good crowd, probably. I'd imagine.
Giuliano Loge. So.
Oh yeah, I was on here the one day listening when you were talking about that booth.
The kid's amazing.
It's like a house up there.
It is. It's Richie's like man cave up there. You walk in, there's Scrapper stuff from '99. You got like YSU shirts. Like Richie's got his own locker up there.
There's the little water bottle that sits in the corner
that nobody drinks.
Yeah, we got that the first home game. They passed those out. It was against Pitt, and I was just watching back. I was watching before you let me on. I was just on my laptop because I know the lingo now because you sent it to my phone and then I have to copy the link out of my notes. I have the HTTPS, then the / StreamYard.com, blah, blah, blah. I was looking in my files on my laptop and I was watching back like old calls and stuff.
Yeah.
And I came across, I saved the YSU Ohio State baseball game this year. That was the first game I did. We got walked off on.
Yep.
That was a 4-hour-long broadcast.
I was going to say, that was extra innings, was it not?
Yeah, it was extra innings, and it after an hour-and-a-half rain delay.
That's right.
So the game started at like 7:30, ended at like 11-ish. Oh, look at this up in the comments.
Oh, do not show that. Do not show that.
We're getting rated.
Blocked user. Oh, my gosh.
But anyways.
In Ohio.
What?
That happened at Penn Ohio night. They caught us and hit us up. I'm sitting there and I was so scared because I thought I was going to hit the wrong button. Because if you touch the white part of it, right, it pops it up on the screen. And there's 3 little dots that you have to click and put ban user or whatever. And I hit it the one time and it popped up for a split second. I was like, oh!
And I remember, during football season, that happened once where you accidentally clicked it. Remember, you didn't read it and you put it up on the screen. I was watching back. I was just going through old Power Hours a couple of days ago, and I came up across that one.
I learned my lesson. And I don't know how they catch us like that. I mean, it's
like what site were they on? Were they on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter?
That was YouTube. YouTube. They got us. Naked.
They thought they got us, but they didn't get us.
We don't want any of that. Not here, not now. No. I mean, maybe that's YSN After Dark with your host Steve Leslie. But that's going to do it for our show. On behalf of all of us at YSN, I hope everybody has a great Independence Day weekend. Celebrate on Monday. We will not be here. We're letting everybody get out there and celebrate their independence and celebrate the birth of our country here on the 4th of July. So on behalf of Anthony Romo, I'm DJ Yoakley. That's going to do it for the show. We'll see you on Tuesday, 3 to 4 here on the network. Peace. YSN thanks you for watching this presentation.